Hello family, and welcome back to the Proforma Family Kitchen. We're going to get a little sophisticated in the kitchen today. You know this bougie chef loves that.
So when you want a fancy restaurant quality meal from the comfort of your own home, today's recipes may just be what you're looking for.
We'll be making a delicious Shish Barak, which is the Middle Eastern stew. And then we're going to move on to a salt-crusted rib roast, and finish off with an Italian chocolate hazelnut cake.
Oh, that already sounds good. So the kitchen's all prepped, so let's start things off with our very own Frank LaRocco from our support center here and his Shish Barak. Thank you for joining us, Frank.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, thank you. So I know there's a little bit of a story about this recipe, so why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, certainly. My grandmother and her family are from Sofita, Syria, and when I was growing up, everything that she made was very authentic, very fresh, and whenever I went over her house, she made fresh bread, fresh grape leaves, kibbeh, many Middle Eastern types of food. But this was always my favorite, and she knew it was my favorite, and I'd go over to her house and I could smell it. Oh, and wow. I would get so excited, and the taste and the flavors, and I just always loved this. And this is my gram, and she passed away, I think, in 2001, and I miss her every day. But I thought that I was going to try to make this because I really missed the recipe and nobody else was making it. So I made it one day and it came out really great, and I thought I would share it with my Proforma family.
That's amazing, man. That's great.
Thank you for sharing it with us. So I hear you may have a few items with you today.
Well, actually, I do have something of Graham's, and that's what we all called our Graham's. I have one of Graham's aprons, and I brought it with me today. So I'm going to wear it. So she is here with us in spirit.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
She was very picky about who cooked her food, so.
Would I be worthy then? Would I have been shooed out of the kitchen?
I'll tell you a funny story about Grandma. No one's food was ever as good as hers, so she'd go to a restaurant and she never liked it. But the fact that I'm here with you, you'd be in good shape. She'd like it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Chef D, why don't you kick us off?
We're going to talk, there's several elements to this dish. Usually we would do the dough first. I'm just going to get some of these onions and filling going just so we can get that cooking. We got some olive oil going in the pan. Always olive oil in Middle Eastern food, right?
Everything, every day.
Got some diced onions. So I'm just going to let that start, and we're going to talk about some of the other things in the dish. So with this dish, there are little dumplings, you could kind of call, almost like a ravioli or a wonton, what have you, filled with a very flavorful and spiced beef filling. We were talking earlier, you said you could use lamb as well.
Yeah, definitely. You could use lamb and beef are pretty much interchangeable in Middle Eastern cooking.
So once you do the dough and you let it rest, that's when you move on to the filling. So we have the onions going, like I said. We're going to add some ground beef to this. I believe you have a leaner one, not like a super lean, but you didn't have a very fatty beef in this.
No, but a little bit of fat's not going to hurt. It adds to the flavor.
So with this, it'll brown, and then a really authentic ingredient that'll give us that flavor in this is a Lebanese 7-spice. Season that a little bit.
And it's used in a lot of different types of Middle Eastern meals.
Yeah, like this smells like
kibbeh. Yeah, exactly.
Really? And then always some salt. All right. Now this you would mix and brown until it's cooked through until it's nice and brown, and you would add some pine nuts too. I'm going to hold them aside because we're going to switch off and everything. I love the pine nuts in there though. So we have our little discs, and in fact, the ones we prepped earlier, Frank came in the chef kitchen in the back and helped me out.
I did.
Because I've never made these. So we have our filling, only a small amount. In fact, I'm glad I asked you because you said I was doing the wrong shape. So you'll see you don't get too much.
I like them when they're all different shapes. You know, they don't all have to be the same shape.
Purse,
and
what have you.
Perfect.
I was doing them in half moons, like a ravioli. And so now we see what these are, what they look like when they roll. We're going to show you that the soup that we kind of make, or the liquid that they cook in and everything. So you mix the water with the Labneh, which you guys will see here. Now it's only separated a little bit, the whey came out, but it's very thick, very creamy. You'll find it like you got to look for it. I was able to find it at Whole Foods. In this water also we have some lemon juice. So we have our lemon up here, some crushed garlic, and some mint leaves. And once that comes up in salt, season it and whatnot, you simmer these for about a half hour or so, and we have all our dumplings.
Go ahead. I want to see you guys try first.
All right. I didn't have them on too hot, but they are steaming, so watch out.
How is it, Michael? Good? I'm gonna take the big ball.
Even the liquid, like I would just drink it. And that's a very, you don't see
Delicious.
that. It's a very, you see that a lot of Middle Eastern cooking, that we're in like this yogurt, dairy-based kind of broth or stock, what have you, and cooking in that. Not just water, and just, I could see you enjoying this when your grandma makes it for sure.
You nailed the flavor. It tastes like my grandmother's.
And
Delicious.
It's definitely a great way to start an episode, and thank you so much coming in and sharing it in the story.
My pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Definitely
thanks
get
for being
Chef
here.
D's banging award, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next up, Mike Goebel, president of Proforma One Marketing, submitted a salt-crusted rib roast recipe. That sounds amazing.
Pulled it out of a Cuisine at Home magazine probably back in 2009-ish. And we've adapted it a little bit since then, but it just kind of became a family favorite, right? We've always done some sort of rib roast around the holiday, around Christmas. And we've tried a bunch of different recipes. We've wrapped them in cheesecloth and coated them in herbs and done all sorts of things. And this salt-crusted one came across in a magazine. We're like, oh, this would be kind of cool. We'll give it a try. And ever since, it's been the go-to. You'd be surprised, salt-crusted rib roast sounds like it's going to be a really salty piece of meat, but it's not. It imparts just enough salt to the meat, but it's really just on the outside. It doesn't become an overly salted dish or anything like that. It really just works to contain all of the juices and the moisture into that roast, and it makes just a really, really delicious, moist, juicy rib roast.
So we have a bone-in rib roast, and I got it really hooked up from a local butcher here in Tampa, Boozy Pig. Shout out to Chris, their head butcher, and also Marcelo, who I know. So just like the recipe, we have 2 cups of kosher salt, and we're gonna add to that, we have some fresh ground black pepper. Now, I actually took pepper and put it in a coffee grinder and did this fresh. So it's completely different than buying some already crushed, unless you want to sit there with your pepper grinder all
It's
afternoon.
got a very different smell to it.
Yeah, right. So don't mind if it gets a little coarse. It's only a 1/4 cup in there, which is still a lot of pepper, which wasn't all of this, but that's fine. Some rosemary as well, that chopped fresh, and then 1/3 of a cup of water. There we go. We're gonna mix this up. And you see already it's getting really thick and paste-like. And what this will help, it'll help stick onto the meat, and even as it cooks, it'll make a salt crust.
Nice.
Now, you'll see when we show the done one in a minute here, sometimes the crust falls off. It's okay. You could rub it and roast it right away. I think it'd be better to rub it and let it go overnight, or at least an hour or 2, what have you. So let's just get to it, right? Pack it on there nice. And then you'll see you want to start it in an oven that's hotter, and then you want to lower the temp down. I believe the recipe said about 350 or so. I did it 325 because we have convection ovens here at the house. And that's definitely a way to go. Also, you could baste it as it goes. Feel free to pour some melted butter. I like to take foil and wrap up the bones so that way they don't brown as much, so they look really nice. And this will cook, I believe it's at about 17 minutes per pound. You want to put a thermometer in it. If you don't have one that's oven safe, just check it about every 20 minutes or so. And then you want to go to about, depending on your doneness, the recipe says about 135. That'll get you to a strong medium. If you want more of a mid-rare, I'd pull out at about 120 or so, and it'll definitely, and you'll see that it carries over as well. Look at this gorgeous thing.
Look at that.
Look at that. So you see the crust kind of falls apart. In fact, what I did before we took this was that I took all the string off of it, so that's why a lot of it falls off as well. And you know what? Just cut into it, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, right?
So there aren't many ingredients in this, but boy, does this look delicious. So.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
You know, one of the things, you hear grass-fed beef is a lot leaner. I was impressed how much marbling was still in this. Let's come in there. Chunk for you, a chunk for me, my friend.
Perfect.
Cheers to that, man.
Cheers, sir.
Tender, all that flavor in there. And Mike, I know you're making this on Christmas, but I would definitely eat this any time of day. And thank you again for submitting such a terrific recipe. Really, really awesome.
Yeah, that's great. The last thing we need to finish off this meal is a classy dessert. Debbee Poche of Promotions in Motion has a recipe to help us with just that.
It's actually my son's recipe. He traveled all over Italy and fell in love with this cake that he kept having all over the country. Came back and decided, I'm going to figure out how to make that cake. And this is the recipe. We call it Johnny's Italian chocolate hazelnut cake, but we also change the recipe a little bit from time to time and make it a raspberry. The cake to me is decadent, it's dramatic. All your friends and family, it becomes their favorite recipe that you make. If you go to any event, they say, bring that cake with you. Don't come unless you have that cake.
We're going to start off with the first thing you want to do is just making a chocolate cake. This is just the bottom half. You can do one from scratch. You can even do a box mix. It's fine. I would just do one that's nice and dense, and I wouldn't necessarily do one with chocolate chips in it. You're not looking for that texture in this cake. So you already made your cake. You want to cut it in half, let it rest. And then we're going to start with the chocolate hazelnut filling. Now, I like, Debbie, in the recipe, you have like big batches of it. I think it makes a gallon of the hazelnut cream.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean it's all in the recipe, right? So we already have the cream going, the whipped cream going. Now, the hazelnut part of this, we have some Frangelico liqueur. We have some melted chocolate in this. We're going to add this right into it, right as it's going. So the big thing is timing this, because you want to let the whip keep going, doing its thing, so that way this doesn't become grainy. It becomes nice and smooth. And you want to spread this about a 2-inch layer. Yeah, why don't you put a little more than that? Let's put a bunch on top. Keep going, I'll tell you one.
Oh, wow. I
Another
really
one.
thought I was pulling a lot.
There you go. Now,
How's
what
that?
might work better, we got this offset spatula. You can use that and just spread it out. It's great you have extra of this. You got some ice cream in the house? By all means. We're going to put this in the freezer so it can get set and get more firm, and then we're going to put the top of it on top.
All right.
So here we have a cake that, like I said, we put the bottom half in the freezer, the cream set, then we put the cake on top. I cleaned it up a little bit just to help that everything goes good, and now we're going to take this ganache that will make
Straight over top, right?
Right over top. There you go. I would start in the center and let it come out. Slow down just a bit. You don't need all of that. Yeah. Here, come around. I'm going to rotate it for you just to help you so you can see those places missing. So this is really nice. Once it's set, you can even pour a little bit more on top. This now will go in the freezer again to set this so it can harden and whatnot.
All right.
And then from there, we're going to go to the eating part.
Yeah, the eating part.
So give everyone a nice look of the cake.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. This cake definitely looks impressive. I'm ready to eat it, chef. All right.
All right.
I feel like you got to get some of the ganache.
Oh, goodness. All the layers.
All the way here.
Be like, I've been taking too big of bites at this part.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done with the show. This
This is
like
great. Oh,
good luck to everyone trying to top this one off. This is really, really good.
this is good.
Really, really good. Super decadent. Thank you so much, Debbie, for submitting this. Really good. Should have had our pinkies up when we did it. A little fancy.
I know,
you know?
that's great. Thank you so much to Frank LaRocco, Mike Goebel, and Debbie Poche for sharing these amazing dishes with us. Until next time, Proforma family, remember to
Chef it up.